save people's lives, people they don't know, because it's their duty. They feel to do so, even at the risk of their own lives. Nurses, aides, CNAs, nursing assistants, nurses, doctors, physicians' assistants. Blessings upon them who are working to save lives. Also, blessings on those who pick up garbage to help keep places clean for low wages and often dangerous because the garbage is also diseased. Blessings on those that make deliveries, unsung heroes that deliver things that we need, that we take for granted in all types of weather, in all types of condition for very low wages. Blessings also upon those that are trying to rescue men and women, boys and girls, teenagers and babies from sex trade operations and sex exploitation, and curses on those that support those industries. Finally, blessings on those that are working for the homeless. 500,000 people in the United States alone that don't have a roof over their head, going to sleep tonight in the street, on a box, in a box, on a park bench, on a grate of a subway train, in a car, in a van. Blessings on those working to help get roofs over their heads. Blessing to those people themselves. May the Most High bless them, take care of them, and the millions around the world suffering even more. And may this soon come to an end. Over this past weekend, the New York Knicks played 2 basketball games. The first one was against the Memphis Grizzlies, and then they played last night against the Toronto Raptors. Both of these games were interesting to me because I looked at the replay. I didn't see the Friday game live, but I looked at the replay Saturday night, saw it from start to finish on NBA TV, on League Pass, I think it was. But both games were interesting because both games featured people that we were very high on in the draft, especially late in the first round for the New York Knicks. Namely Desmond Bane for the Memphis Grizzlies and Malachi Flynn for the Toronto Raptors. Memphis, both teams, both Toronto and Memphis, are somewhat slept on for different reasons. Memphis is in the West, so they're in basically a very competitive conference. Not that the Eastern Conference is not competitive, but the West always seems to have the better teams overall. This year is no different, but Memphis is a really good team, and they're very well coached. The Memphis team, very well coached, and they have been playing at a high level when they came to play the Knicks. They've been beating some good teams because they are a good team themselves. I'm not sure where in the standings they are, but they're a very good team, and it wasn't even because of necessarily just Ja Morant, although I want to tell you, this is the first time that I saw the Knicks play against Memphis with Ja Morant. Maybe I saw it before and just didn't remember, but he is impressive. Ja Morant has speed that I haven't seen at that level with the ball in his hands since John Wall was a rookie when he was younger. John Wall has lost a step, since, with all the surgeries and all the injuries. He's lost a lot from when he first came in the league. But when he first came in the league out of Kentucky, I had not seen somebody that was that fast getting up the floor with the basketball in their hands. I've seen a lot of players that can move with the ball now, but that cat was fast. But Ja Morant is just as fast, if not faster, and he has more skills than John Wall ever did. And I'm talking about John Wall, who's a really good player. I mean, John Wall was good. Memphis is right now 8th in the West. Which is saying something because they lost to us. They lost 2 in a row, and they still 8th in the West, 26 and 25. Dangerous team, but they got a lot of good players. Brandon Clark was another guy I was high on for a late first. This was the previous draft before this past one. I liked him coming out of Gonzaga. He's not a superstar type of player, but he's a really good defender, athletic. high IQ, and he lost his starting spot. He was starting for a minute, and then for at least all last year, and then he lost his starting spot. And they're playing even better now, and they don't even have one of their kids. They have there's what's his name? Jared Jackson Jr. is not even playing at this point. They don't even have him, and they're still playing at a high level. When they get him going, they're going to be rough. So the win against them was a really good win because that is a good team. Dylan Brooks, that cat is like RJ. He's a bully ball type of dude, and he got jump shot too, and he is a competitor. They have a really good team. I'm very impressed with their team. I like the way they play the game. They play both ends of the basketball. They're just, very impressive team. So that win that we got against them was a really good win. I don't want to take that lightly. I don't want anybody to take lightly that we beat them because they're good. Dylan Brooks, John Morant, Kyle Anderson. I mean, he's just, and I like the center, Jonas Valanciunas. He's really good too. This Xavier Tillman, we also looked at him, if you recall, last year as a second round possibility out of Michigan State. He's really good. They got a really good team. And then Justice Winslow's been hurt his whole career, but if he ever can come back and play at the talent that he could play, they're dangerous, man. They're dangerous. And then Tyus Jones, DeAnthony Melton, and then of course we mentioned Desmond Bane. The cat can shoot the rock. We knew that coming out. I think he came out of TCU, and he could shoot the rock. Strong boy too. And he came out as a senior, and he was rough against us on Friday. Now the thing that was interesting Friday too in that game is that they were winning, right? They caught up, they got in the lead. And they started smiling and laughing like they had the game won in the third quarter. And we as Knicks fans know what that's like, right? To think you have a game won, you smiling and laughing too soon, right? And all of a sudden the team comes back. And the Knicks now, Friday's game was amazing. The New York Knicks are for real. I mean, they're not the best team in the league. They did not play 48 minutes, of good basketball. In this case, it was 53 minutes. They did not play 48 or 53 minutes of good basketball. But what you want from them, which is what we knew we wanted to get from the Knicks, is the defense, the grittiness causes you to be in every game, right? So that's the thing. The defense and the grittiness causes you to be in every game. You have a chance to win every game when you play good defense, and the Knicks play great defense. Now, sometimes offensively, it is hard to watch. I ain't gonna front. Sometimes offensively, they're in age, the ball's not moving. They play too much one-on-one. They depend way too much on Alec Burks as a ball handler, in my opinion. Alec Burks is a tremendous clutch shooter. I mean, don't get it twisted. He's a clutch shooter. He's a playoff shooter. Okay? And that's why he's worth his weight in gold in that regard. But they ask him to handle the ball too much, in my opinion. If they wanted somebody, if they don't trust EP in the fourth, and I understand that, and they don't, and Tom is not really ready to give those keys to IQ in that situation, well, let RJ run it, because RJ has shown during this year that he can actually set up the offense. The offense can flow through him, okay, between him and Randall, really can. So, but the defense. That fat man with the bald head named Thibodeau. The defense, baby. When they come to play defense, I don't care who they playing. Teams are in trouble. When them dogs are let out the house, somebody gonna get bit. The Knicks are a tremendous defensive team. There's no doubt about it. We don't have to say they're up and coming defensively. They have arrived. They're here defensively. Okay, which gives us a chance to be in every game we play, including the Memphis game. So they started messing up. Dylan Brooks was killing us. He had 23. Kyle Anderson had 15. John Morant had 26. I mean, John Morant, like I said, in the open floor, he's amazing. I mean, he's amazing in the half court as well. He does everything with such ease and speed. His athleticism obviously is off the chart, but what's wonderful about his athleticism in terms of, see, this is the difference between somebody, y'all can't just look at everybody that can jump 48 inches, a 42-inch leap vertical and think they're going to be good. I mean, I love Dennis Smith Jr., but all that hops don't make him a good basketball player. Okay. The thing about Ja Morant's athleticism is that it's functional. Okay. What do I mean by that? He gets to the basket at will. He chooses his spots. He plays defense. He rebounds the basketball. Okay. He does all of those things and he uses that athleticism in every area of the game. Okay. It's scary getting him in the open court because nobody can catch him. I mean, and he's under control at the same time. Ooh, he's a handful, man. And so, and of course, like I said, Desmond Bane was 6 of 9. He was 3 of 4 from the 3-point lane. I mean, that boy is good. He came in as a senior, so he's probably going to be like 23 now, but he's mature. He's strong. They got a tough team. And then Tyus Jones is a solid backup point guard. Their bench is rough. Brandon Clark, Tillman, Jones, Bane. Their bench is rough. I told y'all was hiring this Tilly, whatever, out of Gonzaga. I told you he was an injury waiting to happen, and he hardly played this year. He's on the bench there for them. You might not even know he's on Memphis because he hurt all the time, like he was at Gonzaga. See? So there's that. That daggone Grayson Allen don't make me sick. He's one of the dirtiest players in the league to me. He was dirty when he played at Duke, if y'all recall. He had the nerve to try to dunk with 2 hands with Nerlens Noel standing under the bed. He had the nerve. I gotta give him. He had the nuts to try it, but Nerlens wasn't having that. And they called a foul on the play, but Nerlens sent that back the other way, as it should. But it was a tremendous play. Speaking of Nerlens, in that game, of course, Nerlens Noel has been playing tremendous defense. He had 4 blocks against Memphis. He only scored 6 points, but his defense is tremendous. Okay, and again. The Knicks did not rebound the ball as well as we want them to rebound the ball. But offensive rebounds, they got 11 offensive rebounds to 10 for Memphis, which is one of the keys to me in them staying in the game and then eventually winning the game. They got 11 offensive boards against Memphis. D. Rose had 2 of them. Gibson, other man. See, y'all talking about the Knicks a week at the 5 or need more depth. I don't know what y'all seeing. I really don't. What you think? Jabal's supposed to walk through the door? I don't understand it. Between Gibson and Nerlens Noel and Mitchell Robinson, we got the best 5 tandem in the league to me. Look, Mitchell Robinson is to me a special talent. He's not even playing, and we ain't miss a beat. And if necessary, we know we got Randall can play the 5 if we need that. Toppin can play the 5 if we need that. And then we just got this kid Pell that's as gritty as he just showed up for a couple minutes, but he already showed that New York style grit. We got plenty. We good at the 5. I'm trying to tell y'all need to stop tripping with that one. But Gibson's defense, man, he bringing that old Chicago defense every time he steps on the floor and high IQ. He plays with IQ. He's one of the few players that consistently play with IQ because he's got that veteran savvy, man. So. Toppin played 15 minutes against Memphis. That was a season high as far as I know. I don't recall him playing more than that in any game. And I told y'all his minutes seem to be steadily increasing. So, and he looked very good out there. He only scored 8 points, but the defense was really good. His length was bothering whoever he guarded, which is a sign. He always had the length, but he wasn't always knowing how to use it defensively. He's using it now. He's using it consistently. He's much better at staying on his feet. He still jumps a little too much, but he's much better at staying on his feet and not falling for the okie doke on a fake jump shot. So he really looked good. Alec Burks, again, Alec Burks is a clutch shooter. He's going to help us in the playoffs. He's a clutch shooter. But his legs, if you notice, he don't have no power in his legs to finish. I mean, he's a vet, so it's not going to change, I don't think, but he got no power in his legs to finish. When he shoots, sometimes it's a line drive because there's no legs behind it. But when he's on, he's good, right? But I don't like him handling the basketball in clutch situations. He's liable to turn it over. But the Knicks ended up coming back, and they were down, like let's see, the first quarter they were down 12. The second quarter they lost by 3, and they were down 15. They come back in the third quarter. They played tight in the third. No, I'm sorry. They were down 12. They come back in the second quarter. I'm sorry, and they ended up down 9. Right. Then they came back in the third. They played a good third quarter against Memphis. That was the Achilles. They played a good third quarter, and we ended up down 7. But then Memphis, started coming on, man. And then the Knicks put the tight D. And who was the man of the hour? Well, it was Mr. Rowan Alexander Barrett Jr. We are seeing the evolution of R.J. Barrett. He is not where he's going to be yet. And that's the exciting thing. He is still way from where he's going to be. R.J. Barrett is going to be a top 10 player in the NBA. There's no doubt. ESPN numbers, we don't care about that. But R.J. Barrett is going to be a top 10 player in the NBA. He's a dog, man. He's a dog. He got that. They call him the Maple Mamba. And you know what? That ain't no slight. He got that killer instinct. He's a finisher at the basket. Okay. He's IQ. He does some dumb young player things now, but he's getting better. And now we're seeing the possibilities with his jump shot. He already had the bully ball game coming into the league. And now he's starting to develop a jumper. He was 2 of 4 against Memphis, 7 of 13 from the field. He scored 20 points. Crunch time. RJ is there. Okay. And if we talk about Burks not being able to finish, RJ's the opposite. He's a finisher. He's a finisher. Okay. With contact. Okay. That's what you want players to do. Woo. And so with RJ, D Rose, Burks, even Peyton, like we had how many? We had 5 players. No, we had 6 players in double figures against Memphis Grizzlies. IQ's jumper was wet. His jumper was wet. That 3 was wet. Okay. So when you got that, and I told y'all we needed another scorer aside RJ and Randall. We need somebody to step up. And against Memphis, we ended up with Burks. Well, we needed another one. So I said Rose, RJ, and Randall, because those 3 can score. We needed another guy to step up. Well, we got him because that game quickly came off and Burks came off. See, when we get those 2 guys rolling with that Knicks defense and with offensive rebounding the way we should, we really can beat anybody on any given night. We really can. Okay. I'm not joking. We're not consistent enough. We're not playing 48 minutes on a consistent basis to be a top level team right now, but you can see the foundation is there. It's there. Okay. We're just a piece or 2 away. Okay. A solid point guard like Alonzo Ball away. And maybe another wing that's a consistent scorer. I mean, I really think there's better players for us than Alec Burke at that spot. And that's what I'm saying. I like Alec Burke. Again, he drives me crazy with some of the weakness. He puts up weak stuff. He puts up in the lane. And he gets his shot rejected a lot and his shot is short a lot. But again, like I said, he's a clutch scorer. He is. I just don't like him handling the basketball. But there are better wings out there. Okay. And so, if we get those 2 things, a better, we're not looking for, if we get Kawhi Leonard, well, forget that. We'd be really talking about winning the East, really. But, I'm not talking about that. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm not looking for that. That's not realistic. But if we got a Gary Trent Jr. or Norman Powell, somebody like that, with Alonzo Ball, we're really dangerous then. And you continue the growth of Julius Randle and RJ Barrett. I'm very confident in the growth of RJ Barrett. I'm concerned of him playing with a Canadian team. I know everybody's hyped about it. I think about injuries. I don't want to see none of our guys get hurt playing in these daggone summer league, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So I know he wants to play for Canada. Canada's going to have a really good team this year, and they got a chance to make some noise out there. And I get that. But I hope that whoever's coaching them don't play nobody more than 15 minutes a game, because I don't want my man getting hurt. We got something right here. This is our boy right here. The media might not put him in the top 25, under 25, which is stupid. But New York knows what we got. We know what we got. Okay? And he's showing it. And they're going to jump on the bandwagon eventually, just like they're doing with the Knicks now. Sorry, fools. Okay? Them fools was talking about we're going to be the worst team in the league. We wasn't going to win more than 21 and a half games. Look, here we are. 54 games into the season at 500. Here we are. Okay? And we ain't going no way. Right? So that was a tremendous win. Tremendous character win. It was ugly, but we won the game. See, these type of games for the last, except 2013 as the exception, 2012, 2013, we would lose these games. These games that were close like this, these games that were nail biters, these games where we had to grind out a win, ugly, we would lose those games. Okay? Except back in the 90s, we would lose those games. We would win them under Pat Riley, and we would win them under Jeff Van Gundy. But since then, no, we haven't. Here we are. And of course, we were winning when Mike Woodson was given a chance to coach. Okay? But here we are. Here we are, baby. And so I'm excited about our Knicks. So which brings me to the next game. The next game was the Knicks against the Raptors. And I mentioned before Malachi Flynn. The night before they played us, or I'm not sure if it was the night before, but it was the game before. It might have been the night before, but the game before the Raptors played the Knicks, Gary Trent Jr. scored 44. Malachi Flynn had 20 and 11 assists. Okay. I told y'all, I hate to say I told you, so I'm not saying I'm a know-it-all. I'm not, but I knew that this boy, Malachi Flynn, was going to be a player. Okay. I knew that in that draft, as far as point guards now, it was basically him and Halliburton. And LaMelo, I thought, was 50-50. If you ever recall it, I said he could be either superstar or bust, turns into superstar. But I thought that Halliburton and Malachi Flynn were going to be the premier guards in that draft. And I still think so. This kid is good. And so I was concerned. And he doesn't get flustered under pressure. He doesn't. So he's also another one. He was Defensive Player of the Year in his conference at San Diego State last year. Aside from being Player of the Year, he was Defensive Player of the Year. And he's only 6'1", which tells you something. Boy got handles for days, and he could shoot the rock. Now, Clyde was like telling us how bad a shooter he was because he hadn't been shooting well as a rookie. He hadn't been getting consistent time. Boy had been in the G League, and now he was starting this thing. But Toronto has now Malachi Flynn, Gary Trent Jr., and Fred VanVleet. They need one more highly rated defender in their backcourt. They need a guy with length that can defend at a very high level. That doesn't need to have the ball in his hands all the time. A guy like that will help Toronto. And they would have a solid 4-man rotation at guard, a playoff level for rotation. Like, I don't think they're going to keep Kyle Lowry. I think he's gone after this season. But they're going to still be good. Nick Nurse. I didn't know this cat before. Like, I was not happy that they let what was the coach? The other coach that they had, my man Dwayne Casey. I was not happy to let Dwayne Casey go. It's just like Indiana letting Nate McMillan go. I couldn't understand that. Dwayne Casey, in fact, they fired him after he was Coach of the Year. He was Coach of the Year and they fired him. I didn't understand that, but they didn't miss a beat. Nick Nurse came, and of course, he happened to come his first year when a young man named Kawhi Leonard showed up. Also, right, that helped a lot, and they won the chip. But this year, he's showing his chops as a coach. Now, right now, they are 21-33, but they've been having a lot of problems. First of all, they're playing in Tampa. They're not playing in their home of Toronto. Toronto, is one of the best cities to me that I've been to. I got a lot of family in Toronto. I got family in Montreal. And, Toronto's a beautiful city, man. It really is a beautiful city. People are really nice, very cosmopolitan, very demographically diverse. I like Toronto. And, but if, it's just too cold for your boy. That's all. But I like it. Well, anyway, so they've been playing in Tampa. They've been playing in Tampa all year. They're away from their home, right? They all bought homes up there. They're away from their home. They're away from their families. I mean, families, I guess, get to come to Tampa, but it's not the same. And then they're away from their fans, most of all, right? So that's the number one. Then, Siakam, I don't know what happened to him after he got the big contract. He started tripping a little bit. The boy is still, to me, a top 25 NBA talent. There's no question. I mean, don't sleep on Pascal Siakam. But they've been having head issues with him, this year. Hopefully he gets over that. Chris Boucher is a revelation. That's another dude. Lem for days. He played center for them last night. He's good, man. He's very skilled. He's very light in the behind, though. But he's very skilled, man. He's going to be good. Of course, they got Gary Trent Jr. and they got Malachi Flynn, and then they got Rodney Hood, but he's not. I don't think he's long for the team. And they did get Aaron Baines as well. I think he must be hurt. He's a roughneck. So they're pretty good going forward. And they got a lot of cap space this year. So it's going to be hard for us, the Knicks, to poach Gary Trent Jr. from them. I mean, unless we overpay, and I like Gary Trent Jr. a lot, but I don't want to overpay for him. It's going to be hard because they did not trade Norman Powell for Gary Trent Jr. to lose Gary Trent Jr. You understand? Like, they didn't do that. So, they're gonna make sure they sign him. They wouldn't have traded for him if they weren't planning on signing him. They're gonna have the money. The Knicks have money, but Toronto's one of the few teams also that can match the Knicks. They got money, so they can pay Gary Trent Jr. Okay, and I think they're going to do that, and they should. Which leaves us other options like Norman Powell. I think will still be available. I think he's gonna be unrestricted free agent, so he'll still be available. And there'll be a couple of other guys that we can get in that wing spot I mentioned earlier. But Gary Trent Jr., I would love. We were talking about him even just a few before the trade. Even we were talking about him as a possibility next year as a restricted free agent because he's just really undervalued and coming on big time. And he's way better than his dad. His dad was okay, but Gary Trent Jr. He's like Kobe Bryant with his father, Jelly Bean Bryant. You know what I'm saying? He's much better than his father. So, I excuse they're doing the moment outside, but they got a good foundation going forward for the future. They just need a couple of pieces. I think they're going to end up retaining Gary Trent Jr. Masai Ujiri's obviously not stupid, so he's going to end up signing him. But here's another game. Now, they've been, like I said, the night before, Gary Trent Jr. scored 44. He hit 17 out of 19 from the field the night before. That's ridiculous. That's NBA. We're in the NBA. He hit 17 out of 19. Like, I know people do that in college, and that's rare. And people obviously do it in high school. But this cat is in the league, and he hit 17 out of 19. That's on fire. Talk about en fuego. So he's on a streak, and he came in the game against us lighting it up. Okay, first quarter, second, that boy was killing us, man. But the Knicks still, the Knicks came out like gangbusters, and it was good. The Knicks started the game very strong. Toronto tried to close a little bit in the second, but then here come the third quarter. Okay, now we played a good third quarter against Memphis. Last night it was an old Knicks third quarter. We did not play 48 minutes of good basketball. We stunk in the third quarter. And one of the reasons we stunk, I don't know if y'all saw it, but it was driving me crazy. Toronto went into his own, okay? Every time RJ Barrett flashed to the foul line in the zone, we got a basket. Every time. So when he flashed to the foul line, he's either finding somebody because RJ Barrett's a playmaker, or he was scoring himself, right? And we only did it like 3 times, I think. For whatever reason, we stopped. Nobody was flashing to the middle. For whatever reason. I don't know what was going on. Then they started trying to beat the zone by hitting the creases, and that's all right. But why change what was successful? I didn't understand that because they were passing the ball into that foul line area and letting whoever caught the ball there go to work, right? And so it was usually RJ, but for some reason, and that to me was one of the biggest reasons Toronto came back, because they were getting stops in the zone, and they shouldn't have. They shouldn't have gotten stops in the zone. So, and Randall was missing a lot of open jump shots. I mean, usually in NBA, when you're playing zone, one of the weaknesses of the zone in the NBA is that the NBA level players will hit wide open threes for the most part. You can't leave them wide open to hit a three. You can't even try to get at them once they're rounding up into their motion. It's too late, right? And so, and a decent NBA shooter is going to kill you if you do that. But Randall he was 1 for 8 from three last night. He was getting a lot of wide open. Bullock too, 2 for 8. They were getting a lot of wide open looks in the zone, and they just weren't knocking them down. But that's why I was saying they should have attacked it by hitting the middle, hitting that foul line area. The zone was weak right there. And so, and with a guy like RJ, it was going to be lights out. So that was a problem. But so the fourth quarter, though, the Knicks, obviously, they fought back, and that defense, they're gone. That Knicks defense came to play. Okay, they came to play. And that Kyle Lowry, he might be 100 years old. We're nobody is 35, but he's daggone fire hydrant, man. You're not moving him. If you try to post him up, you're not going over him. And he's rough offensively. He's still rough. Okay, stocky little dude, but he rough, man. So he came to play. But that defense, that Knicks defense, it didn't matter who it was. It didn't matter. It was on the stops, man. And so that was tremendous. And we finally got a call. We were playing, 8 against 5 most of the game because them refs stunk up the joint. But that one important call was that Malachi Flynn 3. And his heel did hit the line. I don't know what Mike Breeman was talking about. His heel hit the line on that 3-point shot. Okay. And I'm glad, I don't know how they caught it because they were missing everything else, but that was important. So the game went from 90-83 to 87-83. And from that point, the Knicks went forward. So it was a tremendous win. Again, the Knicks hold their opponent, in this case, 96 points. 96 points in 2021 in the NBA game. A high scoring team. 96 points. Okay, that's defense right there, baby. That's Tom Thibodeau, NBA defense. Defense is timeless, y'all. In basketball, defense is defense. It's timeless. Okay, it's changed. Like I said, you can't hand check. You can't be as physical as they used to be in the 90s. No, the defense today is predicated on speed, getting to a spot, running players off the 3-point line, and having the length to deter them. That's why length is important. Speed is important. It's the same, if you play defense, you play defense. But instead of it being more physical, as the Knicks were in the 90s, more physical, more muscle, more, I'm going to push you, I'm going to grab you, I'm going to wrestle you. It's more, I got to beat you to the spot. It's more, I got to run you off your spot. Okay. I got to cover ground. That's the real deal. That's why Mitchell Robinson becomes so important. He covers ground better than any 5 in the league. Really, he does. Him and Gobert. So that's why it's covering ground. It's getting to spots. It's running people off line. It's being in position. Okay. And this is where the Knicks have lacked as far as being in position for the rebound. They've been giving up too many offensive boards, right? Okay. So, but last night, proud to say, the Knicks out-rebounded Toronto on the offensive boards. It was 35-35 as far as rebound, but the Knicks had 11 offensive boards to Toronto's 5. Now that was huge. The Knicks had 11 offensive rebounds last night to Toronto's 5, of course, led by Noel, who had 13 boards, 5 on the offensive end, and then Taj chipped in with 2 more. Everybody, chipped in a little bit, but it was Nerlens Noel doing work on the offensive glass last night. No question about that. Doing work. He had 4 blocks again. That defense, man. And Taj, that defense was tremendous. When Taj got in the game, he knew to try to get in the middle. He was. But, then they decided to go one-on-one. When the Knicks are playing good ball, the ball is moving. When they're playing bad offensive ball, they're going one-on-one and trying to beat you off the dribble. They only really have 2 players that can consistently, 3 when you count RJ, but right now really 2. D Rose from the guard spot, D Rose and Quickly that can beat you off the dribble. And D Rose again last night, he had 11 points. I'm thinking, I didn't realize, D Rose was in the COVID protocol. We found out after the fact that he actually had the COVID. Now I'm not a doctor, but what I did hear about the COVID is that it affects your respiratory system. It affects your lung capacity. And I'm thinking now, at first I was thinking maybe they putting him on a minutes restriction because of his injury history. But then I realized, wait a minute, he might not have fully recovered from the lung, limitations he had when he had because he said it was hard on him. That's what he stated when they asked him about it. He said it was the toughest cold he had. It was rough, so it really messed with his lungs. So, that's actually good news and bad news. It's bad news in the sense that we're limited in what we could use him for right now, but it's good news in the sense that he might be able to play through it, and come playoff time, he might be back to 30 minutes. He might be able to get 30 minutes out of D Rose in the playoffs. So that's good. The more we get a D Rose, the way he plays, the better for us, because he gets in the lane at will. As far as all-time finishers, he's one of the best all-time as far as finishers in league history. D Rose, he's one of the best finishers at the basket, and he finishes at all kind of angles, and his quickness still is a problem for defenses. And so the more of D Rose we could get, the better. And D Rose is actually playing better defense than I've ever seen him play. And I mean, he wasn't a great defender when he was in his heyday in Chicago. He was all right. They would cover for him, I think, a lot. But he is actually playing very good defense with the Knicks. He's playing good defense right now. He's really evolved into a really, his game has evolved. He didn't just lose speed and quickness. He evolved, and he's gotten a jump shot from three, and he plays better defense, and he's got better IQ. He still jumps too much when he passes, but hey, you got to live with that. But yeah, that was good. So we got good minutes out of all those guys. Last night we had 5 players in double figures. Noah had 9. So they were 1 point away from getting 6 players in double figures. But R.J. Barrett was the star of the show. There's no doubt. When it's time for a clutch 3, Roland was there. Rowan was there. It was time for the clutch 3. Rowan was there. Boom. Time for bully ball. Rowan was there. Time for a good pass. Rowan was there. Okay? I mean, the boys, we got one right here. He is going to be a superstar. There's no doubt. Somebody asked me last night, what do you think about him and what is his ceiling? A better version of Jimmy Butler. And Jimmy Butler is really good. This is Jimmy Butler with a dangerous 3-point shot. This is Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler plays high-level bully ball, right? Post you up, plays tremendous defense, plays 48 minutes, plays with IQ, mid-range is tight, but he don't have no, consistent 3-point shot. Here comes Mr. Rowan. Here he comes. He's going to be a better version of Jimmy Butler. Somebody mentioned Kawhi Leonard. I hate to compare anybody to Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard is like, he's a superstar, man. He's a really good player, man. Kawhi Leonard, that's the guy you get to win a championship with. So, he's on that level. So I don't want to put that pressure on RJ, but if he becomes like Kawhi, that'd be great. But I'm just thinking, I definitely see him being a better version of Jimmy Butler. And not too far in the future either. Not too far in the future. Not too far. Maybe next season. Maybe next season. We're going to see him. I expected him to be a 20-point scorer this season because I expected him to get enough touches. Obviously, we remember his shot wasn't consistent all year. He's still growing into it. And maybe I expected too much out of a 20-year-old in his second year. But he's coming. There's no doubt. He's coming. Like I said, the Knicks are 1-2 pieces away from really competing for the Eastern Conference. Okay, really are. They get, like I said, they get a really high level. They get a healthy Mitchell Robinson. They get a high level scorer from the wing and a real point guard like Lonzo Ball. They get that. They're going to be rough. There's no doubt. They're going to be rough, man. No doubt about it. Okay. So, yeah, I'm very happy with our team. No, we're not the top team in the East. No, we're not. No, we're not going to win a championship this year. We're a rebuilding team. But look where we are already in our first year to rebuild. By the way, speaking of rebuild, I just want to explain something to y'all. Some of y'all forget we're a rebuilding team and start acting like we're supposed to be trying to beat the Lakers or beat Milwaukee and Philly in 7-game series. Come on, man. Stop. But I want to tell you something, though. The last time, and this is crazy, though, but the last time the Knicks did a rebuild, they drafted a young man out of Grambling named Willis Reed. Next year or two later, they drafted another young man out of Illinois named Walt Frazier. They drafted another young man out of Princeton named Bill Bradley. That's the last time the Knicks did a real rebuild. Isn't that crazy? That's the last time. What they've been doing since? They've been trying to trade their way to a superstar that could win the championship for them. They drafted a superstar named Patrick Ewing, but then they kept trying to trade their way to build around him. Okay? Instead of drafting more young talent, which they kept blowing their draft picks, right? They had a good one, Michael Ray Richardson, but unfortunately drugs messed up his career. He was really good, Michael Ray Richardson. He could have been that piece, but especially when he would have played with Bernard King, that would have been something. But the Knicks, for the most part, have been trying to trade their way to championships, and get big names that they thought would win championships. And, it obviously never happened. Okay. And then you went and you got Isaiah Thomas as your team president, and he just was trading away draft picks, like giving it away to try to get whatever big splash he could get and think that we was going to win a championship there. So we really haven't had a true rebuild since we drafted Willis Reed, Walt Frazier, Bill Bradley, and we traded for Dave DeBusschere and Jerry Lucas, and we drafted Dean Meminger, and we had Cazzie Russell at one point. That was the last rebuild the Knicks had. And that was 50 years ago. Okay? Almost 60 years ago. 50-something. So this is the first rebuild we had. People say, well, we've been waiting on you. You've been waiting for nothing because you've been trying to get shortcuts. This is the first rebuild we had. Okay? So we drafted R.J. Barrett. We drafted Mitchell Robinson. Okay? We signed Julius Randle as a free agent. We signed Nerlens Noel, Reggie Bullock, Elfrid Payton, and them. We drafted Obi Toppin. We drafted Kevin Knox. We drafted Frank Ntilikina. We drafted Emmanuel Quickley. This is the first rebuild we really had. Okay? We brought some veterans in with the players we drafted. We brought in a tough defensive-minded coach. This is the first year that we really are doing a rebuild. The last time we were trying to start a rebuild, we had Phil Jackson. And you see how that panned out. He traded away half the team and didn't even rebuild. Tried to coach from the president's box. Messed up Jeff Hornacek. Jeff Hornacek is a good coach, but he was looking over his shoulder, afraid to offend Phil Jackson the whole time he was here, and he never ran the program he wanted to run. It's the same with Mike D'Antoni. They signed Mike D'Antoni. Mike D'Antoni's an offensive coach whose system is predicated on a point guard. Okay? And he never had the point guard. The closest he got to it was Ray Felton, and then we traded him for Carmelo Anthony. Then we got, out of nowhere, Jeremy Lin for, couple weeks of the season, like 6 weeks of the season. All right? And so he never got the point guard to run his program. And then he was out. Right? So we never did it right. Never. This is the first time since we had Red Holzman, and the first time since they drafted the cats I mentioned, that they're actually doing a real rebuild. Other teams have done it and done it over multiple times over the last 20, 25 years. Multiple times. Oklahoma City revamped. Multiple times San Antonio. Multiple times Houston. Multiple times Miami. They rebuilt, revamped right in front of you. And then they're back in the playoffs, back in the championship conversation. Multiple times. Milwaukee. Only we haven't done it. We're always trying to trade for the next shiny object, thinking it's going to get us the championship. We're finally doing it right. And look what's happening. And already some of your crackheads are already talking about trading away this, trade away that to get whatever. We're doing it right. Okay? So we got a nice young core. We're developing them nicely. Next year we're going to be rough. We just need two pieces, and they should be. I would like young pieces. Like Lonzo is 23, going to be 24. Somebody like that, somebody young that could grow with the core. Okay, and the Knicks are going to be rough for several years. Remember, we're trying to build in Knicks Nation a sustainable, long-term winner. A sustainable, long-term winner. So